Good morning and welcome to Focus Friday. We're so glad that all of you are here. My name is Abby Jensen and I am currently getting my master's in data analytics, and I'm also on Utah State's cross country and track teams. And I'm really honored to be able to introduce today's speaker, Diana Sabau. So Diana was named Utah State's Vice President and Director of Athletics on August 7th, 2023 by University President Elizabeth Cantwell. And Diana came to Utah State from the Big Ten Conference, where she served as the Deputy Commissioner and Chief Sports Officer for over 2 years. Before the Big Ten, she was at The Ohio State University, serving as the Senior Deputy Athletics Director for 4 years. She earned a bachelor's degree from St. Bonaventure University and a master's in sports administration from The Ohio State University. And Diana grew up in New York City and is the oldest of 4 children. She's a daddy's girl, and she did everything sports with him growing up. She is married to her husband, Jamie, who is a professional sports photographer, and they have 2 kids, Tanner and Camille. She loves a good vacation, reading, and gardening, but she absolutely hates cooking. However, the most important thing that I would say that you need to know about Diana is that she believes that life and success are all about people. I've seen this as a student athlete. In the fall, my first memory of her is when she came to one of our cross-country team's dinners. And the energy and enthusiasm that she brought was awesome. And you could just tell that she loves the athletes, she loves the people that she works with. And she's very passionate about empowering people. One of my favorite things that she says is, if you can see it, you can be it. Her opportunity at Utah State came unexpectedly, but Diana has embraced it wholeheartedly and has jumped right in. And she's excited to lead Utah State forward and be a part of the Aggie family. So let's give a warm welcome to Diana Sabau.
Thank you so much. Really great job. Thank you. Well, thank you everyone for coming out today. I really appreciate seeing a full crowd. And I really want to thank not only Heather and her team, thank you for this opportunity, but I really want to thank Abby. Abby went above and beyond. What a great introduction, fills my heart. But that's just a little bit of what you should do every day. She sets herself apart by being a student athlete where your time is so finite. You know your time is finite, but your energy can be infinite. But Abby came and spent at least a half an hour, maybe 45 minutes with me to make sure that she was going to put her best foot forward. So I know you have great things in your future, and thank you for your dedication and your care. Really appreciate it. I feel like she did such a great job. I can cut 10 minutes out of what I'm going to say today. But again, really appreciate all of you being here. I think you should, at the end of the day, thank whoever reminded you to come. Thank whoever in your academic path or social path made sure that you were here today, because they're investing in you. This Friday series, I wish I had something like this when I was your age to attend. I think a lot of us maybe as young collegiate students, who knows what we're going to be. I thought I was going to be a foreign correspondent, then I thought I was going to be a sports attorney, and here I stand before you as your athletics director. So sometimes you are not born a leader, but leadership comes to you. I am lucky that my career is actually my lifestyle. And when you can say that, and when you can work with people that you trust and that you love, your lifestyle is a joy. And that's my pleasure every day being here at Utah State. So, okay, I just want to make sure no one's talking to me. So last time I was up on the stage, I'm just going to start with a funny story. The last time I was up on the stage was for my press conference. So Brian got up first and introduced and gave a little bit about the search and the committee. Then President Cantwell got up and did a little bit. Then I got up. And so it was kind of like a little change-out game with the mics. So I get up and I start talking, and someone in the very back is going, I'm like, oh, I should stop. And then they gave me the second sign that they couldn't hear anything I was saying because I forgot to turn this on. So we're already a step ahead today because everyone helped me turn it on. So I appreciate that. So then I want to make sure that you all realize, like I said, it's hard to know what we want to be in life. But the most important thing for me every day as your athletics director is to be nimble, to evolve. Right now, college athletics is on a trajectory that no one can be prepared for. What it's going to look like a year from now and 2 years from now, we have to work every day to set that cornerstone, to build on that cornerstone. So I hope transversely you guys are doing the same thing. Every day you are doing more than most. Every day you are caring more than most. Every day you are preparing yourself more than most for what will be your future, because it is a bit unknown. So embrace that, don't be fearful of that, and we'll all achieve success. So similar to the John Huntsman School of Business, we all need to evolve. We all need to be in a state of constant readiness. Remember that. Today's ever-changing climate in college athletics is the key to making us better. It happens every day. We have to keep evolving. We have to be bold and we have to embrace it. Change is really hard. I once had a mentor who said to me that change is the space between your head and your heart. If you can get your mind around it and you can get your heart around it, you can get people to embrace it. And sometimes you have to microdose that. So think about that with your parents, with your loved ones, with people that you hang out with. Change is hard. It might be hard for you deciding where you're going to go after USU. So if you do that in little increments, pretty soon you won't even realize the person who you are is much different than who you were. A little bit about me, you know I'm from the East Coast. You know that I was raised in a family of 4. Hard work was our only value. Well, we had other values, but my father and my mother worked really, really hard to put 4 children through college. I'm a first-generation college graduate from a 4-year institution. My parents were getting their bachelor's after associates when I had already or was graduating from getting my undergraduate degree. My mother's mother, so my grandmother, lived with me my whole life because she was a widow at a really young age, and my dad felt that was the best thing to do, to have her live with us. So imagine having your mother-in-law live with you your whole life with your young family. So I learned a lot about family dynamics. I learned a lot about women working together to achieve success, because I failed to mention that I'm the oldest of 3 sisters and a brother who's 14 years younger. So 5 women in one house, a small house. We were a loud family, but it also taught me great respect for people and the value of kindness. I attended a small faith-based institution where I became a fierce competitor. A fierce competitor because I was always, whether it be in a philosophy setting, in a business setting, or in an intercollegiate setting, I was always one of very few females at the table. So this was in the 90s. Then I studied at Oxford, where I learned at Somerville College, it's not just philosophy and economics and Jane Austen and literature, but it's the people. It's cultures. It's valuing and listening others' experiences. So again, today, I'm here with you because of my toolbox of experiences that I've leaned into from other people as well. But for Gene Smith and Sheila Smith at The Ohio State University, and Kevin Warren, the commissioner at the Big Ten, who pulled me away from an institutional setting, 2 African-American men, I wouldn't be here today. They gave me the opportunity. They created opportunities for me. They brought me to the table when I said, why am I here? I don't know anything about governance. I don't know anything about compliance, so that I could learn. So we are all in the opportunity business of creating opportunities for others. In business, much like yourself, it's not just about listening, but it's about being really prepared, about knowing the most you can possibly know in that moment, in that setting. So in my intercollegiate athletics career, I've had the opportunity to work with some very high-profiled individuals, some brands that are renowned to all of you. I read the room wrong today. I should have wore sneakers and a blazer, but I promise you I'll have that on tomorrow at our basketball game. But in working with Nike, my athletics director had me be a part of our university to craft the largest apparel and sports equipment deal in, I think it was 2017, 2016, in all of intercollegiate athletics, paying millions of dollars to our institution and our athletics department. But what was really unique about that is I was at the table with the CEO from the university, the general counsel from the university, and individuals from the Nike Corporation. And I said, why am I here? Because I brought something different to the table. And diversity is what is most important to all of us, or should be most important to all of us. And I know that Today, as we finish up our week-long activities at Utah State of Walk the Walk and embrace celebrating Martin Luther King Jr., that we all take a moment to just stop and think of what our social responsibility is, how we can embrace differences to achieve more. So I'm sitting at this table with Nike executives just in Beaverton, Oregon, and I'm thinking, how can we do this differently? Well, why don't we ask for more resources for our marching band? Why don't we ask for more resources for our rec sports division? Why don't we ask for not only internships for our student athletes, but for campus? And we started profiling and growing what was just an athletics sneaker and apparel deal to a campus-wide agreement that then included uniform apparel for workers within different buildings of our campus. So not only did we rise the economy of scale for the amount that we were spending and purchasing, but brand awareness, but also pride. Because for some people to purchase that brand, it wasn't economically in their wheelhouse, but now they got to wear it at work, and now they became prideful of it for the institution. So think about what pride does to a community, how you and your social awareness can create differences in your community, not just your family, not just your most immediate circle of who, but how that can have ripples and cascades outward. I know there's so many people that attend USU that are very prideful from being from Logan, and I'm just learning that, and I'm feeling that daily. I think I'm just at about 5 months, I think. And I think when I see different research, when I look at some online profiles and some videos from alums who go out and achieve so much more, I think, wow, Aggies are really, truly everywhere. But think of what they've taken from Logan, and now they are helping others become aware. You too can do that. You too can be that. And I think that is what's most exciting when you look at what you're creating and what you're doing right now as to what you can do moving forward. So then really for me as an athletics director leading your Department of Athletics, our goals right now are to make sure that we are investing in comprehensive excellence, that we are investing in the people, that we are making sure that our student-athlete experiences are remarkable, because that leads to goal number 2, graduate our Aggies and keep them here in Logan. By keeping them here in Logan, we're ensuring not only the success of the university, but also the success of the community. And that feeds us into goal number 3, of making sure that we're a good steward to the community, that we're paying it forward to the community, and we're letting them see it to be it. So this year, I'm so proud this past fall, our SAC group, which is our student athletes that come together, they formulated more community service events this past fall than pre-COVID. So Logan and the community benefited from not only a trunk or treat, not only little lambs over the holidays, but reading in schools. An event, a pickleball event, where they paid it forward and sent resources back to Maui. So we're not only just being central to Logan, but we're being global. And that's how we're building good citizens. So in building on those goals, we need to continue to drive home accountability, integrity, and family. Those are my 3 goals. But I want us as an athletics department to embrace that. I want everyone to be accountable, because when you're accountable, people respect what you're doing and how you're doing it. When you have integrity, you're doing it the right way all the time, even when no one's looking. And that's really important to us as an athletics department. And then thirdly, our family. That can be your innermost family, that can be your peers, that can be your college, that can be this university. But making sure that we have proximity to that. Along my journey in this professional realm of intercollegiate athletics, I've become acutely aware to Brian Stevenson. Brian Stevenson has established the Equal Justice Foundation and the Equal Justice Museum. And I had the privilege about 1.5 years, 2 years ago to walk across the Selma Bridge and learn more about the history and tradition of that event with Martin Luther King Jr. And through Brian Stevenson, proximity has become really important to me. Because proximity is when you are closer to something, right? Proximity creates more care to something. Proximity is awareness. So when you have proximity, you intuitively want to give more. And as a servant leader, that resonates with me, because I do believe in the people. And I think that all that we do has to go back to the people. It really truly has to go back to serving others. So as an athletics department and as an athletics director, we need to make sure, how are we serving you? How are we serving our student base? How are we serving our student athletes? How are we serving the community? I always say it's easy to eat last, but it's much more than just eating last. It's making sure that we're accountable. It's making sure that we have high integrity. It's making sure that we operate with transparency so that everyone wants to be a part of what we're doing. You know, it's also funny, the last time I was up here for that press conference, I was using the same iPad, and after I looked down for the first paragraph, the whole rest of it was empty. I had hit something and deleted it all. So we're going on a good trajectory right now because I haven't deleted it all yet. So stick with me, stay with me, I appreciate it. I really think, as I mentioned earlier, that your energy needs to be infinite every day because your time is so finite. So figure out a way to best manage your energy. Because when you do that, you create synergies. You help people. You display a different element of care. When you actually bring energy, people want to be attracted to you. They want to be associated with you. And they want to help you achieve great things. So as a young professional, I would encourage you to start to develop your circle of who. Who will champion you? Who will make sure that you have a seat at the table? Who will provide learning experiences for you that are outside the Huntsman? Who will make sure that you can be a candidate for that internship or that co-op? You need to develop your professional circle of who. I'm sure you all have a social circle of who, but develop that professional circle of who. Be relevant. Be very, very relevant. In today's society, it's so easy to get on our phone, get stuck in I'm going to say a deep hole, maybe not that deep, but get one Instagram to the next, before you know it, you're on TikTok, and then you're like 2 hours later, and it's 2 o'clock in the morning. But when was the last time you read a book? When was the last time you read about leadership? When was the last time that you went on YouTube and you just Googled leadership and listened? Listening is so important in our industry. And when you work with people, you need to listen. Not just for trying to get your next word in. Not just for upping a story because you could tell your story. Listening for understanding. But most importantly, listening for curiosity. If we're all curious, we're all going to become better. If we're all curious, we're going to embrace diversity. But if we don't listen, we're not going to get very far. You know those people. They always have to jump right in. And I have to be very patient because I'm not a patient person. So sometimes I deliberately speak last because as a leader, if I speak first, then it might change some opinions. It might change some perspectives. So when you speak last and you listen, you not only put value to people at the room, but you're also showing respect and appreciation. And I deeply believe every day, as we spoke about earlier, we have to have respect. And as a leader, I'm always going to operate with kindness. I may not agree, and we may have to talk through some difficult times, but we're going to do it with respect, we're going to do it with humanity, and we're going to do it with kindness. When you look at all the support that you've received through your educational journey, think of how you can give support. Think of how you can lean into others. It might be emotionally, it might be financially, it might just be support through time again. But support is very important, especially in today's society, when it seems like there's so much coming at all of us all the time. I was recently with a bunch of my colleagues, and they said at the Football Hall of Fame inductions in December, and someone said, you know, we're in the same conference, and we all compete against each other as teams and as athletics department. But why do I feel that we are personal competitors? I want to be colleagues. I want to help each other. So who's going to be with me? Who's going to walk with me? Who's going to help me arm in arm so that we can start to be colleagues all the time and not competitors? And when I thought about that, and I said, wow, Terry, that's really deep. And he started laughing and said, it's not meant to be deep, it's just meant to be taken serious. And so as athletic directors in the Mountain West Conference, we're thinking, we're going to be colleagues. Maybe not competitors. So as students today, I'm sure you all are competing to who can get up that ladder quicker, who can have the higher footing or the better footing. But what would happen if you took a moment to be colleagues and helped each other? Maybe both rise. Maybe all of you rise. Maybe together you can achieve more. I talked about integrity, so I won't go too long into that. But as far as education, I hope, for me, being on a college campus and coming back to a college campus, having a higher degree, I think should be the minimum standard for everybody. But I hope for all of you that you are continuous learners, that you are lifelong learners, whether it be through podcasts, whether it be through professional development, whether it be through investing in yourself like you are today, or investing in others. I truly hope that you can do that. Because when you do that, you open up your mind, again, to diversity, and then the people you meet, I'm sure you will be stunned with who you will meet and who you will have conversations with if you continue to be a learner. It's cool if you don't want to be, but I don't know anyone who wants to be static in their life. Even people who feel like they don't have opportunities, they do. You just have to have the energy and the discipline and the help from others to get there. For me, part of being a college athletics director and being an important cog in an institutional system is inclusivity. I want to make sure that our athletics department is the best steward to this university as possible. I want to make sure that we are not just down the hill, but we are part of this enterprise every day so that we are open to your feedback. We are making sure that we are providing value to your experience and that you are creating impact at our events and for our student athletes. And if that isn't happening, I'm in the spectrum, come and visit me. We need to make sure that we are listening to you so that we have this inclusive environment. With that, I'll say that we should also be investing in female. I think that women are our future, and I think for too long, you have not given yourself the credit that you deserve. Stand up, be bold, and ask. Everyone in this room, if you don't ask, the answer will always be no. Ask for the opportunity. Push yourself to be uncomfortable. Do not be afraid. Nothing is impossible. I feel like I'm a little quick. I don't know if I should go into more of my professional achievements. I'm sure you can look them up online. But I will say, thankful to the shoulders that I've stood on for everyone who has helped me in my journey. If it wasn't for the people, I wouldn't be here for today. If it wasn't for, I'm going to work harder than anyone. You can bet on me. We can't bet in college athletics, but you can bet on me every single day. Every single day. But I'm also going to be humble. But I'm going to make sure I'm going to work the hardest in the room. I know when we were doing that, our renegotiation with Nike, I had spent a lot of nights and calling a lot of people, a lot of resources, a lot of individuals, so I could find out where everyone else's contract was, what their terms were. A lot of agreements aren't public agreements, but I had to figure out ways to get to that so that we could level set and we could be above all of that. You're going to have to find your own secret sauce, your own way of doing things, but make sure it's the right way. Make sure you follow a path of respect, but make sure you're not causing any harm to yourself or the organization or company that you're representing. Life isn't easy. If it was, everyone would be Mark Cuban. I will just end with saying, continue to be bold, continue to embrace every day, continue to squeeze everything out of each day that you can, because life is too short. Don't let yourself get stuck. If you're not happy, you need to find happiness. I have such joy every day in what I do. I can't wait till my family can be with me here in Logan. Then it will be so joyful every day. But make sure you are happy. Make sure that you surround yourself with people that are happy or that you have commonalities, but they don't have to be just like you. Diversity is fantastic for individual growth. Thank you very much. And I'll take any questions you have. No questions. All right, that was easy.
Is this on already? Okay, sweet. I guess first and foremost, I want to say, I absolutely loved what you had to say about servant-based leadership and proximity being awareness. I think that is just absolutely so inspiring, very, very notable. My question for you is, years and years down the road, because we hope to keep you forever, but when the curtains close on this chapter of your career, what are your hopes for the changes and the legacy that you would leave behind, both with USU athletics and with the university as a whole?
Yeah, I was just in a meeting this morning over at Old Main, and I was talking about my second contract, so I also hope to be here for a long time. I have so many professional achievements that I'm really proud of, but my relationships make me most proud. And those who have impacted my life and others and my family's life, and that I could say I'm friends with, make me most proud. But I think the most important thing to me that I've realized recently, I was only at the Big Ten for 2 years. I didn't have any plans of leaving. I was really happy and really loved what I did. But I have so many people call me and say, I miss you, we need you. Oh, I wish you were still here. And then the same thing, just recently, Ohio State named their new athletics director. And people called me and said, I'm nervous, I'm worried, I have anxiety. And I just, again, go back to those relationships. And it's really a heartwarming, fill your cup up kind of feeling when people miss you and when they reach back to you. And so I think that's one thing I'm really proud of. Years from now, I want to be proud of.
So the statement you made on being cooperative and in a space that you're also competitive with the other athletic directors, I think we also experienced this. I work with, for example, a lot of the different universities in the state of Utah, where we feel competitive also, but we want to cooperate. What are some things that you've done to help foster that spirit of cooperation in a place that is naturally a competitive environment?
Yeah, sure. I'll first go back to listening, because I think it's really easy to, when you're in a meeting with different institutions being represented or commonalities but not exactly what you do, it's really quick to jump in and shut it down or jump in and correct someone. And so by having the patience to listen through it and then being willing to offer a call offline or a visit or a lunch or an opportunity to talk through something because maybe you've gone through exactly what they're going through right now. Even within our sports teams at Utah State University, we compete for social media. We compete for resources. We compete for each other's time. So it's really important to bring our groups together and have that communication, have the education, have the understanding that we are all in this together. We are all trying to build this together. We are all formulating a team within a team, within a team, within a team. And so even across, I think, the state of Utah, it was really extremely helpful to me when I first got here and I reached out to Mark Harlan, the AD at Utah, and then Tom, the AD at Brigham Young, and set up meetings and went down and met with both of them. And I knew Mark previously because we were both served on the Rose Bowl Advisory Committee together. And I said, why are you paying non-conference schools to come and play you in football? If you keep the money in the state, all ships rise. I need your help. And these rivalries are really, really important to our fan base. Everyone I talked to in my first month here, my first 2 months, we have to get them back on the schedule. We need to be playing them in more sports. And right away, as you're aware, Mark was really receptive to that and really helpful to lean in, to help, instead of being a competitor, to be a colleague, and really helped us by signing the agreement that Utah will be here in 2024 on September 14th, and then we'll play 2 different series with them back in Salt Lake City in 2025 or 2026 and 2028 or 30. So don't catch me on those dates, but we got 2 more games in Salt Lake City far out. I'm still working on Brigham Young, but that was just a synergy that came together through cooperation, through listening, through leaning in. And I think sometimes it just helps to be vulnerable. Just lay it out on the table. If it's not the secret sauce or it's not the Coke formula, maybe you can just tell them, here's where I'm at. I need your help. Hopefully they're going to lean in and they'll be colleagues. I don't know if that helps or not, but that's just some of the things that have worked for me at this stage right now.
So you briefly mentioned the big changes that NCAA is going to be facing over these next few years, and who knows what's going to happen. It's so unpredictable. You stand in a very important role, especially in the conference that we're in and in the area that we're in. How do you wake up every morning and face the fact that you're going to be achieving something unimaginable?
Yeah, that's a great question. I don't know that I've ever thought of that before. It's really funny because I don't think of myself in a place that isn't where I should be. I don't think of myself as achieving the unimaginable. I just think that we have work to do. I spoke to one of our alums, a former women's basketball player who played at the infancy at Title IX. So you can imagine her just yesterday, and her life was so different. They drove their own personal cars to games. They sewed their own uniforms. They weren't allowed to wear shorts at first. They wore skirts, all these things that she talked about with me yesterday. And she said, "You're a door kicker." And I was like, "Excuse me?" Like, that term to me is for the military. And I certainly do not consider myself a door kicker. I just consider myself as something that nothing is impossible. If we all work together, if we all work hard enough, it might not be the exact goal, but we're going to be able to achieve it. And so, right now we are tremendously behind some of our colleagues, some of our peer schools, our peer institutions with NIL. But we have to work every day to get there if we want to sustain success. Because consistency is winning in college athletics. You see those programs that are always in the top 10 in the country, it's because they have consistent leadership, they have consistent financial giving, they have consistency in their players. As a group of 5 institution, we are almost like a G League. We are almost like a training ground. So it's really easy for our coaches to get our skills of our student athletes to a certain level, and then for them to be tempted or for them to look at the next level. We need to figure out how we can continue to keep them here in Logan and graduate them as Aggies. And that means getting up some days and saying like, oh, we got a lot of work to do. But I do think it's possible. And it's again goes back to relationships. It goes back to people. It goes back to being honest and trusting. And, maybe some days I'm a little rough around the edges, but I still want to have exhibits of kindness too.
Hi, I was so excited when they actually hired a female AD. I think it's time for a change. As a mother and a grandmother of girls, and as a mother of someone whose child was sexually abused, I just wondered if you could address what are your goals so that we have such a healthier environment where we're not just accepting that part of athletics is that there's going to be sexual scandals or sexual abuse.
Yeah, I think that is one of the things that keep athletic directors up at night. We need to make sure that we have really great resources for everyone on campus when it comes to equity, Title IX, sexual abuse, misconduct. We need to make sure that we are providing resources in response to those reports to all of our students, not just student athletes. And we need to make sure that it is not just biased or one-dimensional in our thinking, because men also suffer from this. And it's a very heavy burden for the individual and their families. But if we come together with a just, swift, and responsive approach, hopefully there is a healing process, and hopefully we can all learn and become better from it. What is most concerning to me is when it happens with repetitive continuance, or the same situation keeps occurring. We need to ensure as an institution that we get in front of those moments and that we put safeguards and bumpers in place so that we are not having that be repetitive, or that we are putting new education in place so that we are teaching our young men and our young women how to be responsive, what is appropriate, what's not appropriate, and how to conduct themselves. And that's across all verticals, not just in athletics, but in society as well. In high schools as well. We are at a very pivotal mental state within America, within the world. And we need to grow our resources within mental health and within, it's okay to not be okay. It's okay. It shouldn't be a stigma, and we should lean in to help those people. Thank you for your question. Do you need the microphone?
So my question, you spoke a lot about synergy, And I find that very opportune because I'm rereading The 7 Habits of Highly Effective People for the third time right now, and I just finished this morning the chapter on synergize. So that was amazing that you were talking about it. And so I'm wondering, what have you observed and learned about synergy as you have come across people you don't agree with?
Yeah, that's a really good crossroads in my life right now because I'm in a new environment. I'm in a new conference of athletics. Working with new people. And I have to be patient because I do believe, even when I disagree, there's two sides to everything. And so I want to be balanced in my approach. I want to be measured. Words matter. But I do think that there's a point of investment and return. And then there's a point of investment and diminished return. And as a leader, you have to understand when that diminished return has been reached and when a change needs to be made. And that's hard because that's people. And that is challenging. It's also confidential. And sometimes people want to talk about it. But you have to make sure that you don't make change in a vacuum, that you're working within, like for me, my structure would be our president, our legal, our HR, and making sure that we're following the protocols and the policies and procedures of Utah State University. But with highly effective people, you hope that you are habits become behaviors and behaviors become culture. And I hope that our organization can be culture hungry every single day. Because when you have high success and elite teams, your culture is through the roof. But when you are not as successful and when your budgets are lower and when you are perhaps losing, it's real easy for that culture to keep sinking. And you have to find a way through leadership to make sure that you do not lose ground in your culture. Because if you don't have a culture of accountability, if you don't have a culture of integrity, those are cornerstones that you won't, how are you going to build upward? You won't, you'll be flat. And so when you look at habits of highly effective people, and you look at their discipline, and you look at their communication, and you look at how they treat people, then you start to see why companies are Fortune 500, and why continual business leaders have continued success year over year, month over month. And you understand this is where we need to go and this is how we need to be. There's so many good books on leadership. That's why I really hope you guys, I love reading. I'm a big nerd. Recently, I've been falling asleep more with books open than completing them. I used to try to do a book a month, and I'm very off schedule with that. But I would really encourage you to fall in love with educating yourself and enriching yourself through books that make you happy and books that are easy for you to read and accomplish.
Hi. So you talked about building up a professional circle of who in your talk. What advice do you have for our students and our professionals in the room for identifying people to bring into their circle of who professionally, but also building that continuously throughout their career?
That's a great question. I have so many people that come up to me and say, will you be my mentor? Can you mentor me? Can I get some time with you? And I'm always going to make time, but the ownership is on you to follow up with that time. So if you come and see me once, it's up to you to continue that. So if you have a good relationship with a professor, and then your class is done, and you move on to the next semester or the next segment within your discipline, and you never reach back to that professor, it's like having a mentor and never reaching back out. People want you to be successful in life. I've really found that. I truly believe that. People invest in people. We're all very same at the core. But if you don't follow through, if you don't have the discipline to write a thank you note, if you don't send a text that just says, thanks for your time. I once heard a professional speaker talk, and he said, once a month, I send texts to people to tell them I love them. Because you don't hear that enough in the crazy treadmill you're on every day. And he said, I just said, hey, thinking about you, love you, hope you're well. And he said, 10 out of 10 times, they always respond because they feel like, wow, they thought about me today. I'm special to someone today. So if you can start having relationships where they're not transactional, but they're transformational, that you are building this board of advisors, this circle of who. It doesn't matter if it's someone that you had as a professor, someone that you worked for, someone that lived in the same residence hall as you, someone that you started sitting next to at games. It can be from a vast discipline and a vast hierarchy of experiences. But it's up to you to make sure that those relationships are true and that circle will actually champion you instead of saying like, well, I haven't really talked to them in a while. That's tough, right? That puts someone in an awkward position. So I always say it's up to the individual to find those key people, but then you have to foster those key people. You can't just plant the seeds and walk away. You have to keep growing that garden, keep watering that garden, keep weeding that garden. And then before you know it, you'll have people inviting you to weddings that you thought like, wow, I didn't know we were this close, because that's how much you mean to them, even at a professional level. Does that make sense? Does anyone else have any questions with that? It's like really important to me, and I think especially for young people, that when you ask of someone's time, you need to be deliberate that you will follow up on that time, that you will have continual touch points. Because if you don't, then it's just transactional. But life should really be transformational. What else?
So coming from the Big Ten and now being the athletic director at Utah State, how did your career become so centered around athletics? Was it something from a young age that you're always driven to athletics, or did it kind of just like play out throughout your career?
Thank you for that, because this is where my daddy's girl story comes in. But so as the oldest of four in my family, my sisters and I were each 1.5 to 2 years, like right smushed together. We fought like cats and dogs, quite frankly. But I was my dad's sport partner, and I went to events with him, and he taught me schemes, and he taught me offenses, and he taught me triangle defense, and he taught me football and hockey, and I have these great memories. So my mom, as an educator, we didn't have cable for the longest time in my life. And when my dad would like take me places with him to watch sports on a Saturday, and then when we finally got sports, it was when in the early 90s, mid 80s, and like St. John and Georgetown were really, really good in basketball, and Navy, and we'd sit on the couch and just throw pillows at each other if our team wasn't scoring, right? And so I really became embedded in sports through my dad, and I really appreciate the value he taught me of being on a team, even when I wasn't very good, sticking it out, staying there. Like, he would not go for the transfer portal today, I'll tell you that. Like, you're going to stick it out and you're going to learn from your mistakes. But also valuing others, valuing the person on the right, the person on the left of you. And so through that, I really got just enamored by sports. And as an undergrad at St. Bonaventure University, I wasn't a student athlete. I always played sports. I wasn't a student athlete, but I became involved in the athletics department. And then I became involved also in marketing and communications and athletic communications. And I kind of just was doing it, not really knowing that this would become my career, but always serving others and being a part of that really gave me joy, and I loved doing it. And so then, not really, I told you I thought I was going to be a foreign correspondent, then I thought I was going to be an agent, and I worked in a law firm in the summer, and I loved it, but I only loved it because of the social aspect after work, quite frankly. And then I got a job offer. I went and worked at some institutions, and I was in the process of going to a different position at a Big Ten school in the Midwest, and Ohio State called me for an interview. And my 20-something self said like, oh yeah, I'm good. I'm okay. I'm about to start a job somewhere else. And then I called my dad at work and said, hey, Ohio State just called me, but I told him I wasn't going to interview. And he was like, what? What are you doing? You're on your own now, right? You got to figure this out. And so I called him back and I said, I'm Diana Heimler, and you just called me for an interview, and I would like to come up. And they said, well, that's okay, sure, but you're going to have to drive yourself now, and we're not going to pay for your hotel room. And I said, okay, I'll do it. I want to do it. And they offered me the internship, and it was in the mid-early 90s, and y'all are going to die when I tell you this, but my total compensation for a year was $12,000. That's pre-taxes. So you do the math. I had a student loan, I had a car payment, I had rent, but I loved my life. I literally worked out like twice a day because it was free, and I could eat tuna fish out of a can and I was fine. Because I wanted it really bad. And when you want something, you bring a different picture to the table. Like one of my bosses always said to me, I want someone who wants to water my plants and I have no plants in my office. I was like, what do you mean? He's like, think about that. And so then at Ohio State, I just kept putting myself in uncomfortable positions. I gave a presentation to Gene Smith's leadership team before I was on it about Twitter. And they were all like, well, that's so stupid. Why do we want to know where you ate dinner at and walked your dog? And so I came to the group, I presented, and then they said, okay, you can leave. I didn't even get to stay to hear what they're talking about, right? I was so junior in the organization. And then Gene came back to me 4 months later and said, I just went to a conference. I need you to start our social community here, and I need you to do this, and I need you to do that. I don't know how you're going to do it, just figure it out. And so I was always that person who was not, I'm happy, but I always wanted more, and I always wanted to achieve more. And just really helping student athletes and being a part of that was at its core. And then I got into this role where I was really good at negotiating, and I was wicked at a deal. But it was all about the dollars and cents. And Gene Smith took me in his office again and said, look, baby girl, you are really good at getting the blood out of a stone, but I need your soft skills to be better. I need you to hug people. I'm like, oh, I'm from New York, we don't hug people. He said, no, we're in the Midwest, you need to hug people, you know. So he taught me really more of the value of people. And then I started having responsibilities over sports and responsibilities over programs, and went from cheerleading all the way with other sports along the way and keeping them in my portfolio, to being the sport administrator for a Power 5 football team. And there was only like maybe 6 women at the time in the country who oversaw football at a Division I level. We won a national championship, you know, on and on. So I think that it really just started at the core with my family again. But when you love something, invest in it. Look into it. Maybe it's not exactly what your family is keen on, but don't be your authentic self. Find what really makes you shine. Shine your light bright. We need your light out there. Don't be afraid.
Can you hear me?
Yeah.
Oh, good.
Yeah.
I love the holistic way you negotiated the Nike contract, where it wasn't just for the athletes, but for the whole university community. What other, especially with the dynamic nature of collegiate sports now, what other opportunities are there to integrate the whole university community into athletics, both within the university as well as between?
Yeah, I don't think always it has to be athletics either, right? Because our students aren't on campus 12 months of the year. Well, now that they train 10 months of the year or 11 months, but I think it's really important to not only look into what athletics can bring and how we can rise more ships, but also why not give everyone more access to our facilities, to what we have? You know, we're talking about some concepts now of how we can make Maverick Stadium more than just for football games. Is it bringing in Top Golf for the community to have a night or 2 nights of Top Golf in Maverick Stadium? Is it having movie nights in the summer for the community and our student athletes for something to do? You know, just thinking differently. You have to be creative, especially in today's day and age. Everything is so hard and everything is so tight. So to have revenue generation, you have to think differently. And that's just who I am. I'm a really creative person. I'm gonna take a light sconce that you're supposed to hang this way and I'll turn it the opposite way, right? I just think differently, and I hope that people can embrace that and look at that as value. Because when you can think differently than everyone around the table, that will make you rise above, that will set you apart, and you will be known to be different, and you will have great value for any organization.
This is the last question.
Oh, good, we're going to time. I was so worried I was too short.
Oh, anyone else?
So the transfer portal, you brought that
Yeah.
up. And we in academics see that there's opportunity potentially to work with athletics to be part of the reason why our student athletes stay at Utah State University. At the business school, we have a number of student athletes, and they're amazing. And we love them. And we want them to be more involved in the business school. Maybe speak to kind of in that conversation with coaches how academics can couple with the athletic decision to transfer. As a professor, I see that that's sometimes a poor decision by students to leave, uprooting their academic,
Yeah.
records and going somewhere maybe they're not going to receive the same type of academic experience.
So true. I think right now in our society, everything, why does it have to be immediate? Why is it about the short yardage? Why can't it be about the long yardage? If you're going to invest in it all in. Leave your money for a hot second, because you may lose today, but you may gain twice by tomorrow, right? And so to your point, I think it's a relationship driven again. We have to engage in conversations so that people understand the value of what they're already a part of. Because there's data and research that in the transfer portal, there's so many young men and women that leave their current institution thinking they're going to have the grass be greener, have more money, have more opportunity. And then they're in massive debt because where they went to is less than where they were. And so they don't understand themselves, or they don't understand the totality of it. So we all have to help. It's a pivot, and it's happened so quickly. I don't know that anyone has done a really good job with educating that and with helping our coaches and our students and our student athletes understand that. But we also have to understand by every time we transfer, we've taken a spot away from someone else who could have it for the whole year, right, at this institution. We've taken an opportunity, and we're in the opportunity business, and we've made it a short time, quick throwaway decision. So not only by teaching value and by creating this love to be an Aggie and helping people sometimes understand the economics, it may be harder now, but in the long run, it will be more. Look at Jordan Love. Look at our very own Jordan Love. I'm sure that if he had an opportunity, or if the transfer portal was present in his day, he might have thought about that. But look at what he's achieving now. So maybe some short-term pain for this long-term massive gain. But we just have to have that be in our vernacular. I like your socks, by the way. Good sock game. We have to have people understand that, and students and student athletes understand that. Because so often it's just a quick snap, I'm going to try something different, without appreciating what they have here, or helping them understand how we could build more. Like, what exactly do we all need so that we can be more successful? We have to slow down the pace and just have the conversation. Even with our coaches, sometimes they want to move so fast in the transfer portal, bring people in, but are we bringing the right people to Logan? Are we having a fit that works for everybody? Are we making sure that we're following policy and protocols so that we're part of this bigger institution as good stewards of the institution? We shouldn't be putting stress and strain on other departments with that. So I think it's all in, and maybe that's a good topic that we can get together maybe this spring or summer and just have, a think tank, a brainstorm on how we could make this really be a better synergy. Thank you for making me think deeper. Any other questions? Okay, so I'm in the spectrum. My email's online. Rhonda, my right hand is right here. So if you have more questions, or you want to become involved in athletics, or you want to infuse a great marketing business idea, we're all here to listen. I appreciate your time. I hope you have a wonderful weekend. Come visit us for our 2 o'clock Saturday tip basketball. We would love to see you there, and thanks for all you do. Appreciate you.